record this meeting. If you look on your D2L main page, you'll be able to find the project for which I'm going to refer to today. So you have a project. There are many parts to this project. The overall part of the project is going to be required that you submit that in parts. So you have some that you have to submit as soon as next week. And then kind of every week after that, you're going to have some stuff that you're going to have to submit. So let's have a quick look at that. You can find it under content, or you could scroll down on the page here and you can find a couple of links that I've got to it. It's this document here is actually the term project in full. So that describes the entire project, but it doesn't talk about how it's being marked. For each of the individual parts of it, there is some what we call a rubric, which is how we're going to mark. And there's an instruction regarding that there. Oh, sorry, this is a Dropbox for where you're going to put your first one, because your first deliverable, or I've called it a milestone here, your first milestone is going to be due on next Sunday. So you really got to sort of get on with it, right? You got to get on with it. So let's have a look. What are we going to do? What is this project? Now, as I said, you can follow this link, but anytime, if you're not there and you just want to get onto the project, I hope you guys know how to use the content in your D2L, because there is a module there set for the project, and we have all of the documents that relate to the project. I have put them there, so you should be able to find them at any time just by going to your content and go to your term project, and there you'll find it. Now, the main overall, what do you want? The comprehensive umbrella, whatever word you want to use for it, which describes the entire project, is this one here, term project. So let's have a look at it. And this is what it is. It's a very short description there. The idea being that you're going to build a website which is going to talk about ITSM, and it's going to talk about the frameworks, and going to talk about methods used in ITSM. So you've already got a bit of theory on that, because that was our first three lectures that we've had, right? We talked about ITSM frameworks, ITIL, etc., MOF. This is the type of thing that you're going to put into this website where you're going to compare them. Now, the first, and so there's just one page there talking about that. By the way, this project can be done individually. That's quite acceptable to do it individually. Or if you like, you can have a team with a maximum size of 2. So it's either 1 or 2. So don't, so I'm not going to accept the argument of, there's 2 of us and that person can't find anybody to join with. Well, if they can't find anybody to join with, they can do it by themselves. So, I mean, some people will prefer to do it by themselves, and that's fine too. So you can, if you found somebody that you like to work with, that's a team of 2, but otherwise you can do it by yourself. So the exercise itself is broken into parts, and the parts are, I'm just going to, you know what, I got so many new people came to the class in the last 5 minutes or so, so maybe I'll just take a quick snip of that. Another snip, yeah, and get those and put them in the Word document again. That's the wrong Word document, isn't it? So it would not be the save as. Goodness gracious. Didn't I save that? Save as. Here, this one. Yes, this one, because I've done that twice. Did I not save this? Thought I did. No, I didn't save it. Anyways, I will save it. Save as this PC. I thought I had saved that. Sorry about this. Yeah, like the way it does that. Yeah, that's what I was supposed to save it as. All right, so my apologies for that. Let's have a look at this document again. Where were we? Yeah, here. So as you see, each task is briefly mentioned in the column called deliverable. And so, for example, next week, for 2% of the total marks of this course. So all of these add up to 30%, and that is the total of the project. The project is worth 30% of your mark for the course. And so, yeah, so hold on, I just got a student arrived. So I'm putting on my mask to be within college rules. Okay. So, yeah, so your first exercise is to be completed by the 24th of January. That's next Sunday. And what you have to do there is you have to do a comparison of these two ways of hosting a website. It's not just hosting a website, but actually creating a website and hosting it. So you have to create a small website which compares, which talks about our ITSM methodologies. But what you have to do in your first assignment is actually compare these two tools. You know, which one is better for making a website? Should I use Google Site or should I use WordPress? You're going to make a list, and it should be a comprehensive list of pros and cons, and then say why you use it. Now, in each of these documents, there is a thing called a rubric, which is basically a marking scheme. How are we going to mark this? And so I will show you that in a second. So next week, you have this one due, where you have to just create a document, say I like to use WordPress or I like to use Google Site, and this is the reason why. Not the reason why. This is the reasons why. Here's the reasons that Google Site is good. Here's the reasons why Google Site is not so great. Here's the reasons why WordPress is good. Here's the reasons why WordPress is not so great. And then in conclusion, we decide that we like this one. All right. And then the week after that, you have to come up with a plan, which is how are you going, what is the step-by-step, how are we going to go through and meet this project? And then the week after that, you need to do a website framework. Website framework, you can use tools like a wireframe. And a wireframe is going to be a diagram which shows this is what the web page is going to look like. There'll be images here. Yeah, the boxes, you did that before. Then, as you see, you have to make a video. Actually, it doesn't say you have to make a video, does it? It says it should include frequently asked questions, blogs, and a video. So you can just link a video in there, but the video has to be something about, um, you know, our ITSM. We had a nice video the other day, didn't we? um, so that has to be there. Then there's something on configuration management. All right. And then again, you can do a presentation and video or so. A form, you have to create a form, which would be the form that your customers would use. Frequently asked questions. And then you have a choice of some options that you can do here. And then at the end, there will be a presentation of your work. And you see each of those things is roughly 1 week apart. And so students in the other class asked me, well, what about these deadlines? Are they flexible at all? Well, what I will say is the end of semester is not flexible, right? At the end of the semester, I have to put my marks in and you have to have your work done and you have to do your presentation and then look at it. If you count backwards from the end of semester, you'll see that, well, basically you got a job to do every week. So I would encourage you not to let it slip. Otherwise you may have trouble finishing the project in time. So that's the project overall. Get that document, look at it. Now for each of these milestones, I've got a plan on how to mark it. You should this should help you, I think. What I mean by that is you want to get the maximum marks possible for each milestone in the project. So this tells you what you have to do to get the maximum marks possible. So for example, there's two parts to this um, marking, and you can get 5 marks up here, and you can get 5 marks down here. So there's 5 marks basically for your presentation. How did you write it? That type of thing. Was it well organized? Was it one document? 5 marks for that, for basically good presentation. Then there's 5 marks for these things. Extensive list of pros and cons, strong evidence, evidence of research. Hopefully you've covered that in your communications courses. So that would mean that, for example, you would my phone, because I'm talking too loud, the phone is getting on me. But evidence would include that you have some references. This is where I got this from. It just didn't just come off the top of my head. And actually, that is uh, yeah, that's mentioned somewhere else. I think some sources. So sources of information are documented. That means that you include in at the end of your document your references. Then you get the full marks. And you can see if you don't do that, well, you won't get the full marks. Then it should be easy to read, that type of thing. So this is the first exercise that you have to do, which is going to be like a written report. It doesn't have to be a website. The first thing, this is due next week. You can do it in Microsoft Word, but you have to compare these two different web development tools. I call them web development tools. They're very quick. It's press a few buttons, right? Web or WordPress or Google site. So that is sort of up to you to do on your own sort of research and effort. As I said, you can do this individually, or you can do it in a partnership with one other person. So it's groups of one or two. Okay, so that's what I don't think that there's much I can or should add to that at the moment. Yeah, hello. So I think I will leave that with you and take a break for a second and maybe ask some questions or ask for you to give me any questions that you might have regarding that exercise that you've got to do. So let's just pause the recording for a bit. Resume. So just in summary, what I'm asking you to do now, right now, is get these documents and read them all. Decide, are you going to do the project by yourself, or are you going to join efforts with one other person? Decide who that person is, get agreement on that. Okay, so and sort of join together or not. I mean, as I said, you can do it all by yourself if you want. That's totally fine with me. Um, Once you've done that, make sure you've read all the documents. Read all the documents that I put there in the course materials there. It's called content area. Then go ahead and do your comparison, WordPress and Google site. Then you can start doing the other. Then the next thing obviously is the plan, and you could sort of start on that kind of almost at the same time. So I got one chat there. So for next week, we only need to submit the comparison. Correct. Next week, you need to submit the comparison. That's the thing, right? And it's the week after that that you have to submit the plan. So we tried to break up the project so that it's doable, right? By breaking it up into little things, you keep yourself busy, and at the end, you got something good. Yes, you had a question. So, are you Muhammad Nadir? Yes, I remember you, Nadir. So, what was the question? Yes, the comparison is between WordPress and Google, whatever, uh, Google site. So the question was, what's the comparison between? Yes, to start out with, it's between WordPress and Google site. So this is a research lab for you. You go and find out about them. I'm not going to give you a lecture about them. You go and find out about them, and then you write that report. The next, well, at the same time as you're doing that, you should be deciding on who you're going to work with. Then the next step after that is to draw up your plan, your project plan. All of the steps can be found in this document under these two columns. The column here is first, what is the next step? So here's step one, step two, what you have to do for step two, and when it is due. And then how many marks do you get for it? That's what this document is. And so that document's available to you. So step one, step two, step three. Step three is due 2 weeks after that. Well, you got 2 weeks between there and there. And so you do have a bit of time to sort of work on that one. Okay? Easy peasy, Japanesey. Yes. The website is about, sorry, just again, so what is it that you're going to have in the end? You will create a website for a hypothetical business, which is your business, and your business is you're going to, you're going to promote your business as being as using ITSM frameworks and methodologies. So you'll say, "Oh, well, this is the ITSM framework that we're using in our business." So you imagine you have a IT business, you're perhaps you're creating networks, or perhaps you're delivering software, or all of that, and then the, you should use our services because we use ITSM. See this stuff we know about ITSM. Yeah, okay. So yeah, okay, we're clear. Very good question.